Ricky Thompson joins us. Baylor opens with Texas State. We'll get to that in a moment. We have discussed Baylor football with Ricky the last couple of weeks and also many times in the past. Ricky, I'd like to at least maybe change it for just now on the Big 12. You know everybody. You know, although there's some questions with certain programs, is there somebody that you would say, okay, that is the obvious pick to win the conference, or do you feel like it can still be a crapshoot?
No, I don't think it is obvious. I know we've heard all offseason that Texas is the team to beat, but we've heard that before. And I think this thing's wide open, particularly with this many teams involved and the tight schedules that we play. I think there are a lot of teams that can pull this thing through. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you or I had the Bears picked a couple of years ago to win it all. And that ended up being a pretty good football team ranked 5th in the country. I just think it's way too early to make any of those calls. I really do.
Ricky, this first game right out of the box for Baylor is interesting in that Texas State new coaching staff, as new of a roster as you can possibly ever imagine with all the transfers that they have in there. It's unbelievable what they've got. But system-wise, this is going to be an interesting test for the Baylor defense in that I would say maybe the weakness or the biggest question mark on the team is going to be their defensive backs. And this is an offense that, even though it's new, G.J. Kinney's going to throw the ball 50 or 60 on Saturday.
Yeah, and he's going to do it in, 100-degree weather.
Yeah.
So this will be a test. We've seen that old Bryles offense just wear teams to the point where the defense couldn't even stand up by the middle of the third quarter. So I do think this is a real test. And the unknown here is you've got, 22 new starters, something like that. How do you really know what this team is? They're either going to be really good or they're going to be a mess. And obviously they've obtained what they believe is quite a bit of talent. And this scheme that we've seen before can make some average talent look pretty darn good. So I think this is a bigger test than some of us may in Bear Country may think.
Dallas Baker enters his second year as wide receivers coach. There's been rave reviews from Aranda and others about the relationships that he's built in that time and just, the person to person and how well liked he is in that room, Ricky. But we know what a struggle it was for a bunch of young and inexperienced guys last year. There's a few now that have been in the flames, but they're going to have to go even deeper. Do you like the room and what are you just kind of expecting as far as the growth and what can occur from one year to the next?
Well, first off, let's go to Dallas, and I think maybe he's grown up as much as these receivers have. He wasn't the most experienced guy, but really talented in the way that he dealt with these players, and I think that relationship is one that has been built over time. And I think we discussed last week when we visited that I think Blake's problems last year, Blake Chapin's, a lot of those were tied to inexperienced receivers and not all on the quarterback's shoulders. That's a different story this year. No excuses. These guys have been around. They've been around a couple of years, some longer. You've got a transfer, and Keaton Johnson looks like a receiver. Monterey Ballin can fly. Josh Cameron weighs, 220? And then backups galore, Hal Presley. Amari Winfield. This is a group that should be talented, but they've got to do it on Saturday, Craig. They've got to show they can make the plays on Saturday. You do that a couple of times, and, man, that really affects the confidence of your quarterback.
Some of these guys have flashed at times certain plays, Presley or whoever, Cameron, whoever. But what does that do when you don't just do it once? Do you gain confidence like playing in golf when you hit the green a couple of times when you've been struggling doing that? Is that too simple?
No, it's not. It's not that simple. I can think, let's go back last year. Monterey has the incredible catch and run against Oklahoma State for the touchdown. Hal Presley makes a play in the corner of the end zone in Lubbock against Tech. One of the best plays I've ever seen. But then you don't repeat it. You don't see it again and again and again. So I think that's very important that you build some consistency. And the other thing that does it builds confidence between a quarterback and a receiver that I can let this ball go because I know where Hal Presley's going to be. If we run this route, I know where he's going, and I know which shoulder I need to throw it off of to hit him right between the numbers, and that makes a huge difference, Smokey. It really does.
Ricky, was that the kind of receiver you were?
You know what? I could catch it and I could run. I don't know what kind of receiver I was. There was an occasion in the huddle where I just said, "Throw me the dang ball." So, not worded exactly like that, but you know what? I think that's what you want out of those guys. Get somebody in the huddle that says it's third down. Just throw me the dang ball and we'll get the first down. I like it, and I like a quarterback that'll take control of the huddle as well. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
How much of a godsend is it to have Dominic Richardson in that running back room right now? Not only to have, experience, to have further depth, but also to have a guy that can, go back and forth with the Richard Reese, play off of one another, but to have an option outside of, what Reese had to do kind of getting thrown to the wolves as a freshman last year.
Craig, I tell you what, if those two guys stay healthy, I think it could be the best duo in the league. I really do. I just think that even before we knew we were going to lose a back to a suspension for the year, I thought those two guys were the guys. I think that's even more important now. We'll see who develops as that third back. Looks more and more like it may be a freshman, one of the two. But if those two stay healthy, that's going to be a tough duo to stop because you can always have somebody fresh. And I think both those guys are a threat to take it to the house.
Yeah, and it will be interesting if anyone steps up. Is there a player that, and this is at any position on offense, which opens up a huge number of people. Ricky, is there a player that you just see is on the edge of breaking out?
I really want to say that that's Blake Chapin. And
okay.
I'll tell you why. I've seen Blake at times when we'll go back to the Big 12 championship game. Those first 17 throws he made before he got hurt were not just decent throws. There were 5 or 6 of those that were throws other quarterbacks can't make. Blake's got really good footwork. He's got a great delivery on the ball. He's got a quick arm. He's got everything a quarterback can have to be really, really good, I think, except the confidence of doing it consistently. And I just think that he is the guy that can really have that breakout season. I tell you what, if he does, that could be the difference between 6 wins and 9 or 10. It could be that big a difference if he steps up.
Ricky Thompson, former Baylor wide receiver and Baylor Sideline Reporter with us. When was the last time you were on the sideline and someone ran over you?
You know what? This will be 24 years I've done this, and I haven't been run over yet, but I do want you to know I have made 3 or 4 catches.
Oh, really?
Of overthrown passes, and one of those was one-handed, and I've made sure our guys in the booth saw it.
Was it with microphone in one hand, football in the other?
Absolutely.
You still got it. I mean, that's why you played in the NFL, because of that.
Well, the key was I didn't have to run after I caught it.
No, that's true.
That would have been a problem.
That would have been the death right there. Last thing with you on Baylor. Aranda, first year, 2-7 COVID. Next year, they came out of nowhere. As you mentioned, they were really good at the end, 12-2. Then last year, they finished poorly, 6-7. I know that the standard is this is not going to be a roller coaster program. Mack Rhodes doesn't want that. Dave Aranda doesn't want that. Nobody does if they're a Baylor fan. But how critical with Utah and Texas, with all due respect to Texas State and anyone else, that those 2 games are in the first month of the year to set the tone for the rest of the year? How critical is it that they get back to a bowl game with more than just a 6-6 record?
I think it is absolutely critical. I think Dave Aranda knows that. We know Mac Rhodes knows it. Dave has not tried to hide from that fact either. You talk to him, Smoak, as much as anybody, and I think he understands that that's where this program needs to be. And you think of the scheduling, you hit those two teams in the first 4 games, and then what, game 5, is that at UCF? Which is going to be their first Big 12 game ever. That's a pretty tough 5-game stretch when you stick those 3 in there. And I think we got to come out of there 4-1 or so, 3-2 at the worst, and really need 4-1 out of it. So we're going to find out real quickly how good this team is, and I don't have any question they're going to be better. But scheduling-wise, obviously our advantage to get Utah at home in the heat. Texas will be used to the heat just like we are. So the game right now that's critical to me is Utah. Game number 2 against a really good Utah team. Doesn't matter if Rising plays or not. That's a game that I think we really just have to win.
That'd be a great game if they could have played against 2021 Baylor, as physical and as much as they turn people into pretzels on defense. That would have been fun to watch because they play the same way. Oh, yeah, man. I think that's the thing maybe people misread about Utah. They see Cam Rising and think about their offense. Their defense is as physical as anyone I've ever seen, and that's going to be a battle. It really would have been fun the year we played Brigham Young if that would have been Utah to see those two defenses play against each other. But I can tell you we've got to be ready to win the first week, but after that one, we're going to have to take it up a notch. Thank you for your time, Ricky. We appreciate you. Ricky Thompson, Baylor Radio Sideline Reporter, former Baylor wide receiver, played with Washington in the NFL. One of his good friends is Joe Theismann, and also a part of our sponsorship of Alliance Bank in the Waco area. We appreciate him. All right, it's 4:15.